Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you rock dwellers, all you sycophants, all you stinkos, all you hateful people who celebrate the president. You are welcome here, and this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network, and joining me as my co-host is the patriot from the great state of Alabama, and that's Melissa Isaak. Melissa, welcome to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks, Rick. This has been a great, I'm looking forward to the show with you. I'm excited.
I am too. You know, Melissa, you've been a member of our ensemble here on Conservative Commandos going back to CPAC, and that was at the end of February. Other than the time we spent together at CPAC doing interviews, this is the first opportunity I've had to do a show with you, and I'm excited about that. I've been looking for this opportunity for all that time, and it's great to have you with us.
Oh, thanks.
Great to have you as a co-host on Conservative Commandos. You know, Melissa, just yesterday was a very interesting date. May 5 or May 20 of the year 2020. So I was looking at the date yesterday, 5/20/2020, and I thought that was, love to play games with dates, and I thought about the Y2K, and that it had been 20 years. We're 20 years into this new century, and I thought back 20 years ago to Y2K, all the predictions about Y2K, how the electric was going to go off, how planes were going to fall from the skies, how people were going to be stuck on escalators, how our food system, our food production and distribution system was going to break down, how there was going to be riots in the streets. Well, guess what? None of that happened.
None.
January 1st, 2020, January 2nd, 3rd, 5th, none of that gloom and doom happened. And Melissa, it reminded me a lot of what we're seeing and hearing today with the Chinese flu. Hysteria.
Completely agree. You know, 20 years ago, I was a young active duty soldier, and I was actually a firefighter in the Army. So
Really?
We were part of the emergency, I was an emergency responder. So, New Year's Eve, I had to work, and January 1st was going to click over to the year 2000, and there was so much hype, and there was so much hysteria, and, just what you mentioned, all of these, and people were taking precautions. They were storing water, they were storing food, they were doing all these things. And I'll tell you what, I slept like a baby that night. I woke up and got up, and the lights were on, and traffic lights were going as normal. Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
So there was a lot of hysteria, but.
And I see the same hysteria here with the Chinese virus. You know, millions of people are going to die. We need tens of millions of ventilators and hospital beds, and this was going to wipe out 1/3 of the world's population. And I'm not saying this isn't serious, Melissa. Anytime anybody gets sick, it's serious.
Sure.
Anytime anyone dies from a sickness and illness, that's serious. Certainly, we've had a lot of tragedy with this, people getting sick, people dying. But how unusual is this, Melissa? Because every year we go through a cold and virus season. Last year we went through it. The year before we went through it. The year before that, last year, 43 million people got the flu, 61,000 people died. The year before, 49 million people got the flu, 78,000 died. And here we are again. And I say, well, the only difference between this year and those years is this is a presidential election year.
That's right.
And the left, their cohorts in the media are doing everything they can to destroy our economy, to rip apart our country, to get rid of Donald Trump. But in doing so, Melissa, there may be something after this is all over that we didn't have after Y2K, and that's a destroyed economy, tens of millions of people out of work, a depression.
I hope people really paid attention. I hope the people who on the left paid attention in history class to the Great Depression, because you're right. Because we're going to have such inflation, we're going to be in a depression, unemployment is going to be at an all-time high. So we're going back to, this is what I foresee, Rick, we're going back to soup lines, and food banks now are becoming depleted. But, I'm not looking forward to paying $10 for a loaf of bread. I hope it doesn't get to that. But honestly, I'm sort of fearful that that's the direction that we're going. People are not understanding a collapsed economy, a destroyed economy can be just as devastating, if not more, than a pandemic. So,
Right.
you know, that's the direction we're going, and it's so difficult because, of course, mainstream media is steering away from the consequences of this.
Well, Melissa, I know you're an attorney in addition to a JAG attorney for the Alabama National Guard, and God bless you and thank you for your service to our country. But you're also a divorce attorney. Can you talk about the negative impact of bad finances in a family situation?
Oh, you know, the biggest thing in divorces, it has come up in every single case, is finances. Money is a huge stressor on marriages. Whether you have kids or not, money is a huge stressor. So now we have, and I'll say this, we as Americans in general, we're not very good money managers. We're really not. We live off of credit. We live from paycheck to paycheck. And the vast majority of my clients, it's no different. So we have money problems before this pandemic, before the shutdown, and we have seen a lot of people now are having to go into bankruptcy. There's some finger pointing going on. There's credit cards being taken out. Finances are a huge part of a breakdown of a marriage. And, you know, the experts are now saying the divorce rate is going to skyrocket when the economy opens, if it really opens back up. But we're already seeing the effects of this. We're seeing a lot of divorced parents. We're seeing a lot of especially fathers not being able to visit their children because the COVID virus isn't allowing for travel back and forth. So this has really wreaked havoc. And now it's difficult getting recourse from the courts because they're closed. But yeah, finances that's one of the main reasons that divorces are filed, unfortunately.
Melissa, I want to backtrack a little bit because I started this talking about all of the gloom and doom that was expected out of Y2K, and I think the situation coming out of the Chinese flu hysteria is different because of this depression that has been created. The 40 million jobs that have been lost are not going to come back overnight. We know that for a fact. We have the example of the Great Depression that know the things that you were talking about actually happened in a depression. And one more thing I want to add before we go to our first break. It took 16 years.
Yes.
16 years and a world war to get us to recover from that last Great Depression. I hope it's not May 5 of 2040 before we're out of this one. But we do have to take a break, and on the other side, we'll tell you who our guests are and the topics for our conversation. And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Today's show, like all our shows, is being brought to you by the First Amendment, protected by the Second. Melissa and I will be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Melissa Isaak. And, you know, the hallmark of our show is our terrific guest. And I think we've got a terrific show and 3 great guests joining us here today. And before we tell you who they are or what the topics for our conversations are, let me just say this. We're always looking for guests. So if you have a guest recommendation, somebody you would like to see us or hear us interview here on Conservative Commandos, drop me an email. My email address is auntv@yahoo.com, auntv@yahoo.com. Love to hear from you. Maybe you yourself would like to be a guest here on Conservative Commandos. So Melissa, speaking of our guest, who will we be speaking with today?
You know, I'm really excited to speak with our first guest, General Matthew Whitaker. He's a former acting Attorney General of the United States, Chief of Staff to the Attorney General of the United States, and U.S. Attorney. And he earned his MBA, BA, and law degree at the University of Iowa, and was the Hawkeyes starting tight end in the 2011 Rose Bowl. So that's interesting.
Gotta so check that out, see who won that game.
Yeah, right. So now he's back in private life. He's a frequent guest on Fox News, and he has a new book out, Above the Law, The Inside Story of How the Justice Department Tried to Subvert President Trump. You know, and his book, I skimmed through it, so I have some questions for him, because it really answered some questions, because I think when they came out and said, look, we couldn't find the Trump campaign or anybody associated with the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with Russia, then why the continued push? I'm going to ask him about that, because the investigation was thorough. If those were the results, why did it not end there? Yeah. And, you know, and there's some senators that reached out to Ukraine. There's a lot of things I didn't know, so it clarified for me. So I'm really interested. I got some questions for him about that. Okay. So. And then we're going to speak with Patrick Trueman, and he serves as President and Chief Executive Officer at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. He spearheads efforts to address the intersectionality between all forms of sexual exploitation, including public health crisis of pornography and the demand for commercial sexual exploitation, the abuse of children, and more. And what I didn't, he wrote an article. He's here to talk about the U.S. bishops wrote a letter, right, to the DOJ saying, hey, look, we have laws on the books to address pornography and sexual exploitation, and they want Trump to really grab onto this and enforce those laws. So I'm interested in talking to him about that, because this is something that affects so many families. Mm-hmm. It tears down our society. And why is it took the bishops to address this issue? It's interesting.
Yep. Very interesting.
And then we're going to speak with Congressman Bob Barr. He represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. 2003, and he now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and he is the head. He heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and a consulting firm, Liberty Strategies. And he wrote an article, 9/11 Safety Act Should Guide Lindsey Graham's COVID-19 Liability Response. Yeah, we're a very litigious society, and and I'm interested in seeing his take on this, because he's going to talk about some guidelines that need to be put into place, because again, we're very litigious. We don't want to thwart access to courts, but at the same time, I think we've seen the courts being weaponized and used as tools versus a entity for justice.
Yep.
So we need some guidelines.
We do.
Yeah.
All right, three great guests will be joining us here in Conservative Commandos. Well, Melissa, thank God for what we're hearing about General Flynn.
Yeah, talk about.
But I cannot imagine what this talk about weaponizing courts. But I can't imagine what this poor man has been through. I mean, I can't imagine what kind of stress and anxiety it put on his family. He lost his home. The man lost his home over this. He had to sell his home to pay his legal bills. It looked like he was going to end up in prison, in a federal prison over that. Thank God for Sidney Powell, his attorney, a woman that has been a guest here on Conservative Commandos. But where is General Flynn going to go to get his reputation back? How do you recuperate from what this man has been through?
That is the million-dollar question. And I don't know that you can, because there's some people out there, no matter what evidence is presented to them, right, their politics is going to dictate how they feel about someone else or someone else's guilt. So you've got essentially probably over half of the country clapping their hands saying, yes, justice was served, but at what expense? That's the question. So is this man built, he devoted his life to the military. He devoted his life to the safety and sanctity of our country, only to get it stripped away by politics and the first law firm who represented him. They didn't do him right either. So that Sidney had to undo a giant mess, and thank God for Sidney Powell. That woman is a force to be reckoned with, and from one lawyer to another, and one woman to another, man, I give her credit. She's amazing.
All right, she is amazing, and boy, they climbed a mountain together.
Oh yes,
Sidney Powell and General Flynn.
Sure did.
But it reminds me, back in the 80s, Raymond Donovan. He was a member of the Reagan administration. He was part of the cabinet, Reagan administration, Secretary of Labor, I do believe. He was indicted. He was drugged through a trial. Fortunately, he was acquitted. Okay? And I'll never forget what he said when he walked out of court that day. He asked, "What office do I go to get my reputation back?"
Yep.
Where do I go to get my reputation back?
Yep.
And I believe, and we're seeing this more and more every day, more and more is coming out about the Justice Department, the FBI, the people in the Obama administration, people really, really close to Barack Obama, who is leading this charge to prosecute this man. And I do believe it was a ploy to get to him. For instance, the mafia. The way they got rid of mafia is they didn't start out by going to the Godfather. They got the people around the Godfather. Those people turned on the Godfathers, and that's how they brought down the Godfathers. I think they were trying to do the same thing with people in and amongst the Obama administration and General Flynn. I guess he was the first one that Katie McFarland. She was interviewed by Maria Bartiromo the other day, and she said the Justice Department came after her. And they said, "Well, we want to talk to you." And she said, "Well, what do you want? About what?" "Well, we want to talk to you about the Trump campaign." She says, "Well, I wasn't a part of the Trump campaign." "Well, we'd also want to talk about the Russian collusion." She says, "I didn't speak to any Russians." She goes, "Well, there's some things we want to clarify with you." And they started to question her, interview after interview. It wasn't long before they started to threaten her with prosecutions. Great interview. Check it out.
I definitely will. And That's sad because we have, I think, the majority of Americans, they don't trust our best justices. They don't trust the FBI. They don't trust the DOJ. But, and I know a lot of people are disappointed when, Attorney General Barr says, no, we're not going to investigate Obama. Why is that? I think the American people need a little more justification, and things need to be explained, because they're saying, wait a minute, my tax dollars are going essentially to put innocent people away.
Yep. Well, Melissa, let's get our next break out of the way and let's get on with our guests. Again, we got three great guests joining us here on Conservative Commandos, and that's who you're listening to and watching, the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have Matthew Whitaker join us. He's the former acting Attorney General for the United States, and he's written a book. It just came out yesterday, Above the Law, the inside story of how the Justice Department tried to subvert President Trump. Don't go away. We'll be right back with her first guest right after this. Thank you, Melissa.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Drader. And for rebroadcast or to share one of our broadcasts with a friend, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our radio version, our TV version there, as well as a lot of other terrific articles and a lot of great information. And with that, Melissa, we do have our first guest with us, and the honor of that introduction is all yours.
Absolutely. We're talking with Matthew Whitaker. He's a former acting Attorney General of the United States, Chief of Staff to the Attorney General of the United States, and U.S. Attorney. He earned his BA, MBA, and law degree at the University of Iowa and was the Hawkeye starting tight end in the 2011 Rose Bowl. Now back in private life, Whitaker is a frequent guest on Fox News. Matthew has a new book out, Above the Law, the inside story of how Justice Department tried to subvert President Trump. All right, Drill General Matthew Whitaker, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
I always love being on this show. I've done it many, many times and look forward to doing it many more times.
So, General Whitaker, tell us about the new book that you wrote, the inside story, how the Justice Department tried to subvert President Trump. Tell us about that book.
Yeah, it came out yesterday. I have my copy, and you can get it wherever fine books are sold. Amazon, Premier Collectibles has signed copies if people are interested in that. And I wrote this book for several reasons. One is to celebrate the many men and women at the Department of Justice that work hard every day to do justice, to defend our country from terrorists and all the kind of stuff that, quiet professionals do. I also wrote it because, when I got to Washington, D.C., it was very clear to me that we were in the middle of an attempt by certain folks, most of which are on the cover of my book, but some that are not, like Jim Comey, Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, and others, to undo the election of 2016. And so I set out to tell the story that I experienced, but to also have an accurate historical account of this moment in time, a sad chapter in American history, and really a recipe to make sure that it never happens again to an American president or another U.S. citizen like we saw in the examples of Carter Page and General Flynn. So that's kind of what the book is and what it's about. But there's so much to unpack in the book Above the Law that I wrote that I'm looking forward to discussing it with you.
So that's a great title, Above the Law, because reading through the book, me as the reader is thinking, so are they truly above the law? Is there going to be accountability for what they did, what they intentionally did with President Trump?
Yeah, and that's a question that, especially when I could go out and was interacting, all over this country with folks, including at CPAC, where I think I last saw Rick, and other events that, speeches I gave really all over the country, Texas, Iowa, California, that was the one question that almost was consistent is any going to be held accountable? When is somebody going to pay a price? And, I think I saw Bill Barr, the Attorney General that I handed over the Department of Justice to last year, talk about this subject. And I know many people were disappointed that investigations were not going to be conducted into President Obama or Vice President Biden. But you had to listen very carefully to what Barr did say. One is there are investigations into people where they have evidence of criminal behavior. So that's good. What he did say is they currently don't have any evidence that would support the start of a criminal investigation. remember, that's how General Flynn got caught up in the entrapment situation that he's now going to be able to undo when justice is done in his case. And that is that we have to predicate these investigations. There has to actually be evidence to start an investigation. And so when Bill Barr looks at the American people and says the rule of law must be upheld, and we can't just launch investigations and harass people like President Trump was harassed with an unpredicated investigation, we need to take that as like a serious restoration of where the Department of Justice should be. I know it's human nature to want to have retribution. And, you know, I think we all need to lean into our faith a little bit and understand that, you know, retribution is not a good place to come from, that we need to make sure that the rules are followed. And that's this really sad chapter that we're going to talk about today of American history, where not only were investigations not predicated, but actually when no evidence was turned up or turned over, they continue these investigations just to harass and to try to undo this president's tenure.
Absolutely. Your book also talks about the letter that was sent by the 3 senators to the general prosecutor in the Ukraine, asking for cooperation. So it really seems like there wasn't some cooperation from Ukraine. The letter was sent, but yet, you know, President Trump was held in a negative light because of this. Can you speak to that issue a little bit? Yeah,
this is another, I mean, again, I was so glad the way when I started to write this book, how it almost wrote itself. And I'm expecting that there'll be a second volume of this. Just, you know, I could write a whole book just about the General Flynn saga. Yes. And how, you know, and tell that story all over again. But what I see in this chapter was, you know, you had 3 U.S. senators threatening the Ukrainians to do something or not do something, which was a much, you know, clearer threat. Like, if you don't help us with, you know, this investigation, then we will withhold money from you. And I just think about that compared to, you know, a transcript we have of a phone call that's very clear what the president was saying, quite frankly, what the president wasn't saying, but, you know, he was politically, you know, raked over the coals. He was impeached by the House, ultimately exonerated by the Senate. But it's just a clear double standard. And I'm always just amazed how the mainstream media doesn't see this double standard. And really, it's just par for the course. And again, one of the main reasons I wrote this book was to make sure that this doesn't happen again, to hang a, you know, really a bright light over these behaviors, and to, you know, and to demonstrate how shameful this behavior was, not only by members of, you know, the permanent bureaucracy, some call it the deep state, but also the media, and how unfair they have been for the last 3 or 4 years.
And that's been extremely disappointing, because the media doesn't seem to, the journalistic integrity is gone. Now it's more opinion pieces and everything is spun. So I'm glad that you spoke to that, because it seemed like the media and some on the left, you know, they weren't going to let facts kill a good political setup. So, and that's frustrating, because
never let facts get in the way.
Right. So, you know, your book speaks about really the difference between something being unfounded and something being false. So I really think people said, well, you know, these allegations are unfounded, but then, you know, Barr said, well, we didn't find anything, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's exonerated. Well, a lot of people grabbed onto that and said, no, look, that they found some bad activity. So can you speak to the difference? Because I think what they heard is different from what he was actually saying.
Yeah, so there is no doubt that what President Obama and Vice President Biden and others appear to have done was wrong. And it was, you know, again, it was against the rules. It was inconsistent with long-held traditions of our system of justice and of really the way things are supposed to work. And at the same time, you know, the criminal standard is much higher. And, you know, this is one of the chapters in my book, Above the Law, that I talk about. And I'm sure that there are going to be those that are going to disagree with me, but I just don't think we can criminalize everything that's a political disagreement. And I can point to some, you know, how, you know, the whataboutism of the other side. And that is, you know, if you look at really the entire Mueller investigation and what started off as a counterintelligence investigation into the Trump campaign and its relationship with Russia, what ultimately was the evidence that these folks were pointing to, whether it's Comey, whether it's Susan Rice and others, is a disagreement on the relative threat that Russia posed versus China. We all know that President Trump and Michael Flynn and others were right that China is a much bigger threat to American sovereignty in the next 100 years than the Russians. And the Russians can't even project power past about 30 miles past their border. And so, let's just be honest. Like, this was a national, really a national interest disagreement, a national security disagreement, a sort of relative threats. But at the same time, it turned into people being charged with crimes. And I just think that's dangerous. And if we don't return to our just fundamental principles, like I talk about, predication, following the law, making sure that investigations only continue if there is evidence that is developed and not being used to really beat presidents over the head because of an open investigation that the media then pours their hopes and dreams into, and every chucklehead on TV is bloviating about leaks and what they think this thing's about, and who it's about, and just scraping everybody into an investigation just to do political damage. It was really I look back and I'm writing this book and just how sad it was of what this president had to endure, and we have to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you spoke to that. There needs to be legal integrity in our prosecutors and the investigators. If there's nothing there, our justice system is not set up to be a witch hunt. It is not, and I think that's one criticism the courts have gotten is now, it's becoming, the courts have been weaponized and they've been used as weapons for politics. So as you explain it, that completely makes sense because we need to maintain that judicial integrity. Absolutely. So. The difference between false and unfounded, I'm glad you clarified that because, I'm an attorney. So even sometimes when you hear things, you have to sift through them. So, and there's a lot of people on social media right now that are saying, they don't understand, they're upset. I don't understand. We have this evidence that Obama did something wrong. He needs to be, investigated and prosecuted. So I think you explained that very well. And back to the one thing that he had said you had said in your book, rather, the special counsel's investigation did not find that Trump did anything at all, but yet they're like, no, then you need to dig deeper, then you need to look further.
Right.
So as far as, this investigation, how much pressure did you receive from the left, or did the investigators get from the left to continue to dig until they found something, knowing that that's really a violation of professional integrity?
It really is. And it was, I remember before I took over the investigation, and I was the chief of staff at the Department of Justice, and General Sessions was the attorney general, and he was recused. And so therefore everyone in his office was recused. And I just remember every night going home and seeing breaking news and some new development, never positive towards the president or anybody in the administration, always negative, always speculative. And, I think about how, you speak about how things are being weaponized, how the Department of Justice had been weaponized, and how reporters were falling over themselves to break news where they had one anonymous source that oftentimes proved to be completely false. I was reminded of the New York Times piece in 2017, the first half of 2017, that said that there were multiple individuals that had ongoing conduct with the Russian government, and none of that was true. We read the Mueller report; there's no evidence of that. But at the same time, that was printed in the New York Times, and then for days it was regurgitated and spun and amplified, by a complicit media. And again, I don't, President Trump fought through all of this and admirably, not only survived it, but, was able to push back on a lot of this. But, there's other individuals that it's just, including myself, that got caught up in this. And you just wonder, where do you go to get your reputation back when people say unfounded things about you and about other individuals? And where's Carter Page go to get his reputation back? Essentially, the FBI went to the FISA court and said, we have probable cause that Carter Page is an agent of a foreign power. That's the showing. And now we look at it, and it was completely baseless. It was based on the dossier, which we all know has been completely not only unverified, unverifiable, but false. And so, this is where it's just so frustrating to watch, and I try not to watch the left, because they are so anti-Trump, and
Yeah.
they are so against his agenda that he's not going to get a fair shake from them at any time.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we're speaking with General Whitaker. We're going to have to take a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM FM 24/7. And we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top! With those sky-high payments! You can't forget about your debt. Always fear! The debt suckers are here!
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. Want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us and watching our show in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida. Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, and now in Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., and also seen on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, Marin County, Silicon Valley all the way up to Redding, California. Our guest this segment is Matthew Whitaker. He's the former acting attorney general, and he also has a new book out, Above the Law, the inside story of how the Justice Department tried to subvert President Trump. General Whitaker, thank you for holding through that break, and please hold up that book again. This time, hold it over your left shoulder. There you go.
I had to think there for a second which one was my left shoulder, but
there you go.
Yeah.
And General Whitaker, congratulations on that new book. We know it just came out yesterday, and you and I spoke a little bit earlier today and said, wow, what a time. What a time to bring out a book, the book that you did at this time with everything that's happening in the news. Was this your plan? Did you know that all this was happening and this would be a great time to bring this book out?
You know what, I had I really had no involvement in the timing, but I had a lot of involvement in the writing. And ultimately, this date was picked last year, about 6 months ago, and it's just been the issues surrounding the Department of Justice, I think, are going to continue. I think we have many more inflection points, not only the twists and turns of the Michael Flynn investigation and the dismissal of his case, but we also are going to have, Lindsey Graham's going to have his hearings on this issue. We're going to have Durham, who's the U.S. Attorney from Connecticut, come out with either charges or a report or both on the origins of the Russia collusion fable. And so I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities, for not only for me to talk about this book, but to talk about my experience at the Department of Justice. And really, my book, Above the Law, is a hopeful story. It's a hopeful story in that we need good people to be willing to serve our country, but serve for a limited basis, not become swamp creatures, not get comfortable in the warm water of the swamp, but to come to battle, to do good, to do the right thing for the right reason, and then go back to wherever they live and, participate again in the economy. So I am happy, Rick, that obviously the news of the day is certainly relevant, but at the same time, this was, if you think about 2 years ago, where we found ourselves in the middle of the Mueller investigation and in the middle of all of the craziness that was happening, it looks very different from this perspective than it did when in the middle of it.
General Whitaker, can I ask you about the unmasking requests?
Sure.
Well, the unmasking requests, first of all, from what I understand, are very rare. They involve in the invasion of America's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure. Now, Acting Director of National Intelligence, Ambassador Richard Grenell, declassified names of 39 high-ranking Obama administration officials who urgently sought unmasking requests. Now, get these dates. From November 8th of 2016, just a couple of days after the election, up to and including January 12th, 2016, just a few days before the inauguration. Now, the list includes people like James Clapper, John Brennan, Jacob Lew, Sarah Raskin, James Comey, Dennis McDonald, couple aides from Clapper's office, including President or Vice President Joe Biden. Now, when you understand that unmasking is supposed to be non-political and rare, what do you think about so many people who were surrounding Barack Obama at the time? And the questions are these. There are 4 of them. You can answer them however you'd like. So you've got these 8 members of the Obama White House invading the privacy of an upcoming Trump officials. All right. What do you believe was their motive? How ironic do you find that these individuals all come from people around the inner circle of Barack Obama? And what do you believe that they were looking for?
Well, Rick, MSNBC has been telling me that unmaskings are normal and they happen all the time. but I can tell you, in my experience as both Chief of Staff to the Attorney General and as Acting Attorney General, I had access to a lot of various and sundry intelligence products. Many times I saw U.S. Person 1 or some other indication that a person's identity had been masked. And not once did I request an unmasking to better understand the intelligence. And I think you're right. I think we need to remember each one of those unmaskings is a constitutional violation. Essentially, it is a misbalance. Those U.S. persons were collaterally picked up in surveillance of foreign nationals that don't have the same constitutional protections. And so, one, it tells me the Obama administration did not feel that the Constitution applied to them, and that's again, they're above the law culture that I talk about in my book. I think what they were trying to find, I don't know, because as I described before when I was talking to Melissa, we were looking at a disagreement as to the national security disagreement between Russia and China, who posed a bigger threat. I don't know why they felt, especially as it related to Michael Flynn, General Flynn, why they felt they needed to unmask him to better understand what he was doing or what was going on. There's no allegations that General Flynn, quite frankly, did anything wrong in his conversations with the Russian ambassador, among other people. So, as I look at this at this recently revealed information, one is I'm glad we better understand it. I'm glad that Rick Grinnell has gone in there and shared this information. I look at not only the names of the people that have been declassified, but I also look at the Susan Rice memo or email that was just declassified as well. And I look at it and I think, why was this classified in the first place? I think we have an overclassification sometimes of these things that are embarrassing, but they're not national security sensitive. So, this is going to be. I think we need to learn more what their motives were. It really appears to me to be frustrating, hamstring the incoming Trump administration.
General Whitaker, sometimes I've been accused of thinking a little bit too outside the box. But when I look at these dates, November 8th to January 12th, a few days after the election to just a few days before the inauguration, could we speculate and say that they were looking for something to stop the inauguration of Donald Trump before it happened?
So I like to be, I don't like wildly speculating, and I like to have evidence. What I can tell you is they certainly appear to have wanted to frustrate the Trump administration at the start. And, I look, again, I keep coming back to the Susan Rice memo, but there's so much in there and it's important. She 3 times wrote that the investigation into General Flynn would be by the book. Yet 4 days after she wrote that, Jim Comey immediately sends FBI agents inconsistent with a by-the-book investigation, inconsistent with the way things have always been done in these administrations. He admitted that in that Woodruff interview. And so, I look at how these things all fit together, Rick, and I'm not willing to say that they were trying to not let Trump be inaugurated. I'm not there yet. I don't have evidence of that, but I would say that they certainly were trying to frustrate and hamstring the incoming administration because, again, they were very much opposed to President Trump and his worldview.
Former Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on Conservative Commandos Radio Show. We always enjoy the opportunities we have to speak with you. Once again, please tell our audience how they can get your book and keep track of what you're up to now.
Yep. So here's the book. I'll put it over my left shoulder again. Rick.
There you go.
It's available online, Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble. If you want a signed copy, Premier Collectibles. I'm doing a live signing tomorrow, actually. And so you can track that down, sign up, and get your signed copy of the book. I'm just back in the private sector, practicing law and doing a little bit of consulting work and some speeches. And obviously writing a book was a large part of the last year for me. And it was a very cathartic and satisfying process, and I'm really glad that the finished product is now out where folks can enjoy it, and I can. And I love hearing from people that have read it and to get their thoughts. So,
right, where's your signing?
It's going to be online. It's going to
online.
Be online. It's going to be on Facebook, both my own Facebook page, which is Matt Whitaker 46, which is the same as my Twitter, and also FreedomWorks, I think, is hosting the live signing as well. So either FreedomWorks or my own at Facebook at Matt Whitaker 46.
All right. General Matt Whitaker, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, General Whitaker.
Thank you.
You are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaac and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be talking about a letter the U.S. Catholic bishops have wrote to the Department of Justice to protect victims of the exploitation of pornography. Don't go away. We'll be back with our next guest, Patrick Trueman, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Coming up right after this.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to welcome you back. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaac and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our show, or maybe you'd like to share it with a friend, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. And be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Melissa, we do have our next guest with us. And as you do with all our guests, please make them feel welcome.
Well, we're speaking with Patrick Trueman. He serves as President and Chief Executive Officer at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. He spearheads efforts to address the intersectionality between all forms of sexual exploitation, including the public health crisis of pornography, the demand for commercial sexual exploitation, the abuse of children, and more. Under his leadership, NCOSE has produced policy improvements at a wide range of notable institutions, including Google, Walmart, the Department of Justice, Verizon, the Federal Communications Commission, and more. Patrick Trueman is a former chief of the Child Exploitation and Obscenity Section, Criminal Division at the U.S. Department of Justice. While there, he supervised the prosecution of sex crimes, child pornography, and obscenity. Patrick, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Well, thank you very much, Melissa. Good to be here.
So there was a letter written by bishops to the Department of Justice to protect the victims from exploitation of pornography, and it's sort of unique given the COVID situation. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think it's a very good thing that all the Catholic bishops through the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops have directed a letter to the Attorney General of the United States, William Barr, urging him to enforce the current laws that are on the books that prohibit distribution of hardcore pornography, or what we call obscenity. And the reason that's important is because in the Obama administration, those laws were ignored. They shut down the section that was prosecuting obscene material. And now what you see is a free-for-all on the internet. Anyone can start a porn company and put it up there and have no consequences. But in this country, we have prohibited the distribution of hardcore pornography. Of late, you'd hardly know it, but these porn companies now, in the COVID-19 pandemic, have put up a lot of free material and made their premium sites, the ones you would have to pay a monthly fee to, all free in order to hook a greater audience, so that when the pandemic is over, these people will still want the material and they'll pay for it. That is a very sinister move, and the bishops are right to call out the porn industry and to demand that the Attorney General do his job.
So the bishops are the ones who wrote this letter to the Department of Justice, and they make a good point, as they say the impact of pornography on society, it destroys families, it ruins. Let's just be honest. I mean, it's more men than women, but I read where more women are starting to get engaged in viewing of pornography. Can you speak to the overall effects of pornography and why it's so important to the bishops that they reached out to the DOJ?
Well, as the bishops say in their letter, it's really destroying families, it's destroying marriages, it's destroying children. What we see today is a pandemic of harm from the effects of pornography. You've never heard in the past about something called child-on-child sex abuse. You've just rarely heard of it. Today it is widespread in our country. What's happening is children are consuming pornography, and every kid is getting it, and then they're acting out on other children. That's something that the bishops called particular attention to. The other thing that I thought was very significant about the letter is that the bishops tied the consumption of pornography to the widespread problem of sex trafficking. What we know, and as any investigator, federal or state investigator knows, is if you take pornography out of the equation, sex trafficking ends. Because the men who are visiting sex trafficked women are all heavy consumers of hardcore pornography.
So you're using the word hardcore pornography versus pornogaphy. So what is the difference, and where are these bishops, or where should we draw the line?
Well, what is prosecutable is where we should draw the line, because that's the only line that our First Amendment allows. What the Supreme Court defined as obscenity or obscene material, they used a similar term to call it hardcore pornography. So I use the two terms interchangeably. But hardcore pornography or obscene material normally refers to sexual acts depicted in a lascivious way, not something that might be in a medical textbook or a similar publication. But it's meant for the sexual gratification of the audience. Now, what you're seeing with porn today is very hardcore material. The most common themes of online pornography today are sexual violence against women, incest, and other means of sexual violence.
So it's mentioned too that a lot of divorce attorneys will say that pornography is prevalent in their cases, and I am a divorce attorney actually. So, and Pornhub comes up quite frequently, I have to say. And like I said, it's not just men; it is now women, and where children are having access to this as well. So you're on par with that. So. We look at the societal impact. We look at the breakup of the families. So what about the other side? They say, well, look, everybody in here consented. So let's look at the victimization within the porn industry itself.
Well, first of all, I want to mention that these porn sites, the #1 porn site, and you just mentioned it, has videos on it of sex trafficked women who did not consent to being filmed. There was a famous case just recently of a 15-year-old girl who was kidnapped, raped repeatedly. It was all filmed, and those videos went up on Pornhub, and Pornhub would not take them down. And there's numerous cases just like that. So let's not pretend that everybody's consenting. And the women in porn, we've dealt with many of them who have come out of that industry, and what they all tell us is that they were desperate. They had no place else to turn, and it ruined their lives because they all got sexually transmitted diseases. None of them got health care like you would in a normal job. All of them were abused with sexual violence. Is that a job that any of us would want for our daughters?
Yeah. No, it's obvious that there's a disparity in bargaining power there if and when there's consent forms involved. I didn't realize that when Obama took office, he essentially did away with that section. So while Obama was in office, how was this regulated?
It wasn't at all. There wasn't one pornography case initiated in 8 years. Now, prior to that time, I had been for a length of time the chief prosecutor at the Child Exploitation and Obscenity section. It was our job to prosecute. And what we found out is two things. You begin prosecuting these companies and the juries all convict because they don't want this to be part of their community. And even today, with all the widespread pornography, the jurors are going to sit there and think, that's the guy in the defense booth there, defense chair, that got me addicted or got my wife to divorce me. That's the guy that's responsible for my child being abusive. So today I think a prosecution would be very successful. And but the Obama administration saw it differently, and we're trying to get this administration to prosecute. Now, President Trump, when he was a candidate, promised to vigorously enforce these obscenity laws, but unfortunately his Attorney General has not seen fit to do that, and the bishops are right to call him out on this.
Without a doubt, absolutely.
Wow.
And how is it that a administration can say, these are the laws that we choose to enforce, these are the laws that we choose not to enforce? Was there any justification given by anyone in the Obama administration?
No, none whatsoever. And what I think is so tragic is that the way the Supreme Court has interpreted obscenity laws, they say that it's by community standards whether something can be prohibited. So when the Justice Department says, we're not going to prosecute anywhere, essentially they're establishing community standards in every community in America, and the standard is anything goes. And that's what you're seeing on the internet today. Anything goes.
So the Supreme Court, I think their definition was, if it's obscene, you know it when you see it. And then,
well,
right.
That's one justice that said that, and frankly, I agree with him. I mean, when you look at the sexual violence, the beating, and multiple partners, etc., of today's porn, you'll know it's obscene, and every juror will know it's obscene.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're speaking with Patrick Trueman, and we're going to need to take a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Nat Talk America, and AM/FM 24/7, and we'll be right back.
Mom, thank God you're going to be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm going to call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing one-day bath and shower remodeling. The complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day. And for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaac and yours truly, Rick Trader. And as I love to do, I want to give a shout out to folks who are listening to us or watching us on stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Long Beach, California, Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., as well as seen on the AUN television network in places like San Francisco, Sacramento, San Jose, Silicon Valley, Wine Country, and Redding. Our guest this segment is Patrick Trueman. He is the president and CEO at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Patrick, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, Rick.
I'm a little baffled. I'm a little befuddled on this subject, this topic. U.S. bishops call on Department of Justice to protect victims from the exploitation of pornography. Shouldn't this be a no-brainer?
Well, it should be.
Shouldn't this be a no-brainer? I mean, my gosh, haven't we heard the perils of pornography and what it causes, the harm it causes to families, kids, women, men, society in general? Who and why would be against something like this?
Well, of course, there's a good bit of our society that consumes it, and many of those would be against it. But what's interesting is that many, many, many individuals who are consuming it want to get out of it. But porn causes addiction, and they can't get out of it. On the website Reddit, there's whole communities with hundreds of thousands of young men who have pledged to avoid pornography after being addicted to it for many, many years. and it's a growing movement in our society. But when the Justice Department refuses to enforce the very laws that would eliminate this, where do we go? There's no place else. We can't go to that porn company and say, please stop it. They're making billions. They're going to continue. And the result is addiction, child sex abuse, sex trafficking, etc., etc.
You mentioned this site, and I hate to mention the site because I really don't want to give them publicity, but we have to. Pornhub. You mentioned that Pornhub showed videos of a 15-year-old girl being raped. It's just incredible. And hello, doesn't this fall under child pornography? And what does it take? What are we doing wrong here, Patrick, for the Justice Department and other law enforcement agencies to crack down on this company? You know, we see people like Harvey Weinstein being arrested for the things that they Epstein. My gosh, this to me again should just be such a no-brainer. How can we as a public put pressure? And I hate to say this, but put pressure on a man I like and respect, that of Donald Trump, to get his Department of Justice to act on this.
Well, there's
why is it coming to the U.S. Catholic bishops? Are they the lone voice in this?
No, by no means. There are members of Congress that have written to the president and to the attorney general, and there's a growing chorus of people who are complaining about this to the Justice Department. There's a group that's gotten 1 million signatures together on Twitter for the prosecution of Pornhub to put them out of business. So a lot of people feel just the way you do, Rick, but the pressure has to build because the Justice Department hasn't moved, even though Donald Trump promised that they would vigorously prosecute illegal pornography. Where else are we going to turn?
Well, we know he and the Department of Justice has been kind of busy with other things.
Yes.
You and Melissa touched on this, but I really want you to expand that pornography harms families and communities. I see it as ripping at the moral fabric of our country, at the moral fabric of our communities. Patrick, could you just go into a little bit more of the harm? Yes, because a lot of people will look at it, and you and Melissa talked about, oh, what harm is what consenting people do in their bedroom, or even if they want to add a video camera to it. But expand on that, if you will.
Well, first of all, I want to point out that 15 states over the last couple of years have passed laws to say that pornography is causing a public health crisis in their states. 15 states. Now, the basis for that is a publication that we constantly update. You can download it on our website. That is titled something to the effect that pornography, a public health crisis. Now that has in it summaries of about 200 peer-reviewed research studies on the harms of pornography, showing the harm to children, the harm to individuals, sexually transmitted diseases going up, sex trafficking, the boom in prostitution, all related to the consumption of pornography. So the harms are indisputable. The porn industry wants to say, oh, there are no harms, give it a try. But you know what? What these studies show, the brain studies show that once you begin consuming pornography, the vanilla pornography that you might start with doesn't satisfy after a very short time. You escalate. You go to harder and more deviant material. And it happens to every single individual. They'll go to harder and more deviant material. When we were prosecuting child pornographers, our investigators would ask these individuals, some of them married men, some of them grandparents, how did you get involved in child pornography? And invariably they said, well, they never thought they could enjoy it, but they got involved in adult pornography and always needed something, a higher high. And eventually they found child pornography, and that's when they were caught. And so pornography, consumption of adult pornography can lead to even the consumption of child pornography.
All I read something in an article in Forbes.com, and you, Melissa, talked a little bit about it, and something I didn't know, I didn't realize, divorce is a factor in over one half of the divorce cases. Now, I'd always thought that bad finances were the major contributor to divorce, but it seems like this addiction to pornography. Is this something new? Is this something that's just happening now, or has this always been this way?
It's always been this way, but now you're seeing it in spades. You're seeing so many, and Melissa's right. You talk to any divorce attorney in the country, ask them, do you hear anything about pornography from your clients? Overwhelmingly, you'll get the response, yes, it's the number one reason.
What do you think the chances are that things are going to change? That the Department of Justice, the president, is going to listen to people like you and your organization, listen to the Council on Catholic Bishops, or even we the people, in cracking down on this? Patrick Trueman, what are the chances?
I think they're very good. What we're seeing is a snowballing effect. You can't go a week now without seeing an article putting pressure on the Attorney General to enforce these laws, because people are fed up.
Has the Attorney General made any comments about this?
Yes. In a publication, in a New York publication, about 3 months ago, he said he was concerned about it and didn't know if a prosecution could go forward if people don't support it. And I thought when I read that, what do you mean? First of all, give it a try and see what the jury says, because you'll find that you'll get a conviction. And so the people do support this. I don't maintain that everyone does. People are looking at pornography. But when I was in charge of the pornography prosecution section at the Justice Department, what we found is many, many individuals who are involved reading or looking at pornography are also the ones that will convict, because they know what it's doing to them, they know what it's doing to their marriage, they know what it's doing to their family, and they want the laws enforced.
Who owns Pornhub?
Well, it's a company called MindGeek, and they don't just own that major website, they own dozens more. The number of pornography companies that run porn sites on the internet is actually relatively small, and MindGeek runs the most of them. So MindGeek is the target.
Unbelievable. Patrick Trueman, we want to thank you so much for joining us, President and CEO of the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. Again, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Please tell our audience how they could go to find out more about you and your organization and your missions and your goals.
Well, we've got a great website and a site that'll help you with your children and families and your marriage. It's called EndSexualExploitation.org. EndSexualExploitation.org.
Again, Patrick Trueman, thank you so much for joining us. Take care, God bless, and keep up the fight.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to have former Congressman Bob Barr join us. And he's going to be talking about an article he wrote, 9/11 Act should be a guide, Lindsey Graham's COVID-19 liability response. Don't go away. We'll get into this topic right after this break.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854.
855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader. And as a reminder, for a rebroadcast of our show, or maybe you want to share it with your friends, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Be sure to like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Melissa, we do have our next guest with us. He's a longtime friend of the show, but the honor of the introduction's up to you.
All righty. We are speaking with Congressman Bob Barr, and he represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. He now practices law in Atlanta, Georgia, and is the chairman of Liberty Guard, a nonprofit pro-liberty organization. He also heads the Law Enforcement Education Foundation and the consulting firm Liberty Strategies. Congressman Barr, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Listen, it's always good to be with you all, even during these, sheltering in place or home confinement, as I call it. It's great to be with you all.
Absolutely. Now, there's an article that you wrote, 9/11's Safety Act should guide Lindsey Graham's COVID-19 liability response. And that's a really great article. It talks about the Safety Act of 2002 and talks about the fear of lawsuits at the time after, the people who are working on counterterrorism technology and now related to COVID-19. So tell us more about that article.
Thank you so much. Normally, of course, as a small government guy, small federal government especially, I don't like to advocate for the federal government to come in and set a one-size-fits-all for something. We've done that too many times, and it almost never works out. But what we have here, Melissa, is a situation that many businesses and individuals are facing and being harmed by that truly is a national problem. And when you combine this national problem, that is the COVID-19 pandemic, with all of the measures that both the federal government and state governments have put in place that hurt businesses or limit businesses, I do think it's very important to make sure that those businesses, particularly as they open back up, are not faced with the threat of lawsuits by employees or by customers, so that they then get hit with a sort of a double whammy. They have lost business, they want to open back up, but then they're going to get sued by everybody that walks in the door and claims that they contracted the coronavirus while they were there, or that employees contracted it. So what I think we need to use as a sort of a model for what we're looking at here, Melissa, is what we did after 9/11, faced with another national problem, this one of man-made dimensions, terrorism. And we said, okay, we have this problem. We don't want businesses to be further harmed by facing liability for anti-terrorism measures, for example, that they're taking. So we provide a national standard for lawsuits. And I think that's even more important and more appropriate this go round.
I would agree, and I think you and I are both attorneys, so we would agree that sometimes there is abuse of the legal system. Sometimes people tend to weaponize the law, weaponize the courts, sometimes for political purposes, and sometimes I'm sure you've argued your share of 12b6 motion to dismiss because some attorney filed something and there's no merit to it. It's frivolous. So, and I think especially now, given the political climate, there's a lot of recognition that there is weaponization of the courts. So we live in a very litigious society. So how do we balance the rights of people to bring litigation, to bring forth cases if they truly feel that they're wronged, and a national standard? Just to play devil's advocate, are we taking away some sort of, the individual aspects of certain cases?
I don't think we are. We shouldn't, certainly. And I think it's relatively easy to address that problem. Mm-hmm. You don't want to say, for example, that anyone who contracts the virus should have no remedy if, in fact, something that a business did caused that. But it's very important to set the proper standard. So, for example, if somebody a customer comes into a business that is reopened, and the individual claims, well, I came in there and none of the employees or some of the employees weren't wearing face masks, or the place wasn't properly cleaned, and therefore I contracted coronavirus or COVID-19 because of coming into that store. You want to say, well, now wait a minute. Was the store actually negligent in what they did or didn't do? So you set a reasonable standard of proof so that you don't have businesses that have already been hurt by the closings and the limitations, then further hurt or afraid to even open if they're going to be sued by everybody that walks in the door. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, of course, with employees at businesses. You don't want to tie the hands of the business owner, and many of these that we're talking about are small businesses, mom and pop businesses. If the store or the establishment takes appropriate, reasonable measures consistent with the national standard that the president has laid out, for example, you don't want the business to then be sued by employees who claim that they were harmed. As long as there is a reasonable standard, I think things will work out very, very well. Of course, there are some organizations, the AARP, of course, is already complaining about this. But I think it's very important that Lindsey Graham, who is taking the lead on this from his position as chair of the Judiciary Committee, I think he understands the need to balance this. He did it when I was back in the House with him after 9/11, and I think they need to do it now.
Perfect. You mentioned the Washington Post. You say Washington Post even conceded in a recent column, fear of COVID-19 lawsuits is not mere Republican reflex. So how is lawsuit anxiety, how was it viewed as a Republican issue where now it's more of a bipartisan thing?
Traditionally, of course, as you know, and Rick knows certainly, liberals, Democrats have been more open to litigation and to find fault with businesses, whether it's the ADA, the Americans with Disability Act over the years, which has been a boon for certain law firms and liberal groups, or other matters. They've always been said, well, we need to have more lawsuits, basically, rather than fewer. But the Washington Post, surprisingly, recognizes, I think, as we're talking about right here, that this is not a problem that can be pigeonholed into, oh, that's just Republicans looking to take away people's rights to be made whole again by not allowing them to sue. Nobody, I don't think, is talking about taking away the right to be made whole again. If there is if you have a proper standard and the person failed to meet that and harmed you thereby through contracting COVID-19, but to have a reasonable standard that allows businesses to know that they're not going to be sued frivolously, so that they can move forward without that threat hanging over their head.
Absolutely. We're speaking with Congressman Bob Barr, and we're going to have to take a break. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Net Talk America, and AM FM 24/7, and we'll be right back.
Are you a veteran and are you a homeowner? Then think Streamline and maybe save yourself a few $100s every month on your mortgage. A VA Streamline refinance. It's called a rate reduction loan because mortgage interest reduction is exactly what it does. It's just for veterans and it lowers your mortgage rate so you can save on mortgage payments every month, every year. That's a lot of money saved. And it's so easy to qualify. You don't need pay stubs, a W-2, or bank statements. You don't need a home appraisal. It's fast and easy to apply. And mortgage interest rates are very low right now. So a VA Streamline refinance makes it super easy and super affordable to take advantage of this opportunity and really cut your monthly mortgage payments. Veteran and homeowner? Call us to find out more. 888-893-7491. 888-893-7491.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Is your credit card debt driving you batty? We're going up! Just like your credit card fees and interest rates. To the top with those sky-high payments. You can't forget about your debt. Always fear, the debt suckers are here.
Are your payments sucking the life out of you? Just one call to Consolidated Credit can get the debt suckers off your back. Consolidated Credit will lower your interest rates, consolidate your bills into one easy payment, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit and get your life back.
Call 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213. That's 1-800-201-8213. 1-800-201-8213.
When debt is the problem, Consolidated Credit is the solution.
Because debt sucks!
Attention Viagra and Cialis users. Are prescription drugstore prices too costly? Get 50 generic pills for only $99. That's right, 50 100 milligram generic Viagra for only $99. Our products have the same active ingredients as the brand name products. Money back guaranteed if you're 100% not satisfied. Get 50 generic pills for only $99. Order now and call the number on your screen. Have your credit card ready.
And welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaacs and yours truly, Rick Trader. Just a reminder, for rebroadcasts of our shows, check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find our radio version, our TV version there, and please share it with a friend. Our guest this segment is Congressman Bob Barr. He represented Georgia's 7th Congressional District, and he's joined us to talk about 9/11 Safety Act should be guide Lindsey Graham's COVID-19 liability response. Congressman, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time. Please explain to us the importance of the Safety Act of 2002 and how it can be used as a template to protect businesses from any potential lawsuits involving the coronavirus.
Essentially, what we're saying, Rick, as we said back after 9/11, we want to see businesses open back up. We want to see the airlines flying again. And we want to encourage individuals and businesses to develop products, whether it's products to fight terrorism, to guard against terrorism, or to fight a viral infection caused by Mother Nature. And what we want to do is to say, okay, we have a national problem here. It's affected businesses from coast to coast and from north to south. And this has happened through no fault of the businesses. Businesses have been made to either close temporarily or cut back or not hire as many people, not allow as many people to come in. And as those businesses now are beginning to open back up, a process that we hope will continue unabated, we don't want them to have to worry about being sued by everybody who walks in the door and claims, well, because you didn't disinfect properly, or somebody was in your store that didn't have a mask on, and therefore I caught the virus at your store. We don't want to have businesses operate under that sort of Damocles hanging over them. So what I think it would be appropriate, and I've encouraged Lindsey Graham, who served with me in the House back after 9/11 when we addressed this problem after the terrorist attacks, to set a reasonable standard that businesses can operate under moving forward so that we accomplish two things. We protect businesses from frivolous lawsuits. We don't take away people's right to sue if they've got a good case. And we also encourage, by not allowing everybody to sue if you develop a product that you think will work, we also encourage innovation to develop anti-coronavirus medicines, vaccines, and so forth. So it's very, very important moving forward that the Judiciary Committee in the Senate under Lindsey Graham's leadership look at setting a reasonable nationwide standard for businesses as they open back up.
Frivolous lawsuits are a problem, a general problem in this country, and I hate to bring this up in the presence of two attorneys. Well, what about loser pays?
Well,
it seems to me that loser pays legislation would not only settle or help to settle this problem, but a lot of the litigious problems that America is dealing with today. Heck, I live in New Jersey, one of the most litigious states in the country. Loser pays. What about it?
Actually, we do have a loser pay system here in the U.S. It's not it's not like in Britain, for example, which has a very loose and very broad system. Here in the United States, for example, if you're practicing in federal court and you bring a lawsuit that has no legitimate basis, or you bring somebody into a lawsuit for which there's no legitimate basis to make them a defendant, a federal judge can, and they do, say, okay, you have brought a frivolous lawsuit. You are going to pay the other side's attorney's fees. So we actually have that to a certain extent here in the U.S. and in the states. The problem, though, Rick, is that most judges don't use that power that's given to them. They're afraid to. They want to not be criticized or overruled on appeal. But we do have that here in this country. It's just not used as much as it ought to be, both by attorneys and particularly by judges.
I want to shift gears a little bit, go into another topic, but I want to use something you and Melissa talked about earlier to do that. Weaponizing the laws and courts. Congressman, I think we've seen a terrific example of this happening. And I want to talk with you about the unmasking requests. And we just had former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker on with us. I talked about this and I wanted to get your reaction to it. That unmasking requests are rare. They involve the invasion of America's Fourth Amendment rights against unusual search and seizure. However, we found out recently that 39 high-ranking Obama administration officials utilized unmasking request from, get these dates, Congressman, from November 8th, 2016, just a couple of days after the elections, up to and including January 12th of 2016, just a few days before President Trump's inauguration. Some of these people on this list are very interesting. For instance, former Obama White House official Samantha Power. 3 of these unmasking requests come from Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, 2 by CIA Director and former White House official John Brennan, 2 from Obama's Secretary of the Treasury and former White House Chief of Staff Jacob Lew, 1 by Sarah Ruskin, Department of the Treasury, 1 by FBI Director James Comey, 1 by Obama's Chief of Staff, Dennis McCaw, 1 from Clapper, and actually 1 from Joe Biden itself. Congressman, what's your take? All these people who were surrounding Barack Obama requesting these unmasking requests up to or right after the election, right up to the inauguration. What does that tell you, sir?
Oh, Rick, it's a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Now, in all seriousness, it raises a huge question. Unmasking an individual, that is a U.S. citizen, a U.S. person whose conversations were picked up in this case, under the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act process, under FISA, under normal circumstances, these are very tightly controlled information, as it should be. And yet, if there is a good articulable reason for an individual in the government who has access to that information to ask that the person's name be revealed, as opposed to simply, a U.S. person, no further, without further identification, then that information, the unmasking, can go forward. But there has to be a legitimate reason for it, and a legitimate reason is not for partisan, political, or even nonpartisan political reasons. This raises a very serious question. I don't think that anybody with a straight face could look at what you've just talked about and say, oh, that's just coincidence. It's not coincidence. The timing is very clear that this was done during the transition, and it was done against an individual and individuals with the incoming administration, and then later who were in the administration, against whom the Obama administration, the Hillary Clinton campaign, and the Democrat Party generally definitely wanted to take out and harm. And we know that also from the FBI emails and the investigation of General Flynn. So this smells bad. It doesn't pass the smell test. It ought to be looked at very carefully by the Attorney General. I'm a little bit disappointed that the Attorney General has sort of already said, sort of prejudged that he's not going to investigate this up to the level of the president or vice president. I don't think that they should get a free pass on this if they, in fact, violated the law on the unmasking.
Can the unwashed, the uneducated like myself look at this, Congressman, and say they were trying to stop the inauguration of Donald Trump? I mean, not just forget the impeachment, forget anything. They were trying to stop the inauguration of a president, of a duly elected president.
About a year ago, I would have hesitated to use the word coup, but I'm not nearly so hesitant to use it now. These are people, both in the Obama administration and in the Clinton campaign, the Hillary Clinton campaign, that did everything they could, including abusing the investigative powers of the FBI and the intelligence gathering powers of our intelligence community to, one, ensure that Donald Trump did not win the election, two, that he did not take office, and three, that he was undercut, if not destroyed, once he took office. And I would have thought, before all of this happened, you'd never see that happen in America, but we are seeing it happen, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Absolutely, we do.
Well, I certainly hope that we do. Congressman Bob Barr, we want to thank you so much for joining us. You're always so generous with your time. Please tell our audience how they could find out more about Liberty Guard, the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, and Liberty Strategies.
It is a mouthful, all of those.
Yes.
It's relatively easy. You just go to bobbar.org and you can get links to all of those. But I do work, as you mentioned, with the Law Enforcement Education Foundation, which is laweef.org. It's an organization that I head up that helps law enforcement agencies across the country. And I also do work in the Liberty area as a consultant for Liberty Guard. So they can go to libertyguard.org or the laweef.org, or just good old bobbar.org and find out, what I've been writing about and what I've been up to.
Congressman Bob Barr, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
My pleasure always. Thank you.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Melissa Isaak and yours truly, Rick Trader. And we're going to be back with more right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Well, Melissa, that just about wraps it up for today's show. This is the first opportunity I've had to do a show with you, at least since CPAC, and I was so looking forward to that. And it's just great to have you as part of the Conservative Commandos. But Melissa, how can our listeners and our viewers keep track of what you do when you're not here with either Sharon or me or George or someone else here on Conservative Commandos?
Well, I'm an attorney. I represent. I'm a father's rights attorney, actually. So fight to keep dads in the lives of their kids. And I'm on Facebook, Melissa Isaak. I'm on Instagram, Melissa.Isaak. And there's like 2 of us. So I'm the one who's the lawyer.
All right. And we had some great guests today.
We had great guests. It was a great first show with you, Rick. You know, we had General Matthew Whitaker, and he was the former acting Attorney General of the United States, Chief of Staff to the Attorney General of the United States, and U.S. Attorney. And he talked about, he wrote a book, The Inside Story of How the Justice Department Tried to Subvert President Trump. And his book, Above the Law, The Inside Story of How the Justice Department Tried to Subvert President Trump. The book actually, I think, had just come out. It just come out
yesterday, yeah.
And, you know, reading through it, it really answered some questions that I had. And as to why, you know, why the Mueller report was written the way it did, why, you know, Attorney General Barr said the things that he said. So it was really interesting. And he looks at it from a purely, you know, really truly legal perspective, because I think sometimes we get emotional, we want things to happen, but above all, we need to maintain integrity in the judiciary.
Yeah, and for those who like inside baseball, you know, inside politics, here you go. Here was a former acting attorney general, and wow, you can't get that's getting it firsthand.
So definitely, our viewers really need to get that book because there was a lot of information in there that was really eye-opening to me. So,
Right.
And then we spoke with Patrick Trueman, and he serves as President and Chief Executive Officer at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation. His interview blew me away. I didn't realize that the Obama administration had essentially not enforced the laws that were on the book. He said not one charge was brought against
That's
anyone
incredible.
in 8 years. So what happened is the porn industry just flourished. And now we have, these online, pornography sites and sex trafficking, and everything has gotten significantly worse because we know porn hurts families, it, hurts children, hurts everybody. So the bishops wrote a letter to the DOJ, and I think it's interesting that the bishops took this on
Yes.
and reached out. But, Rick, it's unfathomable that these laws were ignored for 8 years.
That's incredible. I'd like to ask President Obama, how would he feel if one of his daughters was trapped in that situation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to look from that perspective.
Yep.
But yeah, I had no idea. And I bet the American people don't know that went on either for 8 years. So it was interesting. And then we spoke with Congressman Barr. And he represented Georgia's 7th District in the House of Representatives from 1995 to 2003. And he wrote an article about how the 11SAFETY Act should guide Lindsey Graham's COVID-19 liability response. And, we need to recognize we're a litigious society. We really are. And it's really come more of a bipartisan issue because usually Democrats, historically, they're the ones that they want the judgments from the corporations and the companies. Well, now we're like, no, we're going to have lawsuits coming against everybody. So, you have these, we don't want to thwart innovation. We don't want to thwart, new treatments. And we want business owners to be protected from somebody walking in and say, oh, I'm going to sue you.
Absolutely. And how do you prove if you get sick? How do you prove where you get sick? But if businesses don't have protections against frivolous lawsuits, and I commend Lindsey Graham on doing something like that. Well, again, Melissa, it's great doing a show with you, but for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.